the legal right. Say with me, the legal right.
Legal right.
To have the father's inheritance.
Right.
And as a believer, you live in in conformity with the father's nature. Mm-hmm. So anytime you say we have received the spirit of adoption. Mm-hmm. Now, adoption in the then known word in the Jewish culture is the best thing that could ever happen to anybody. Because you can have a child, a son, a biological son. At a point when the child does not agree with you or follow your ways, you can disown him or her. But once the child becomes an adopted son,
yeah, come on now.
Legally, you have no rights.
Oh, that's right. Come on now, tell it, Pastor. Tell it.
Legally. And so what Jesus did for us was the best thing ever. Jesus.
Amen. Amen.
Legally, you have no right to disown the child, whether you like it or not. And so he said, we have received an adoption. Jesus. Aren't you glad? Aren't you glad?
Absolutely.
Oh, that should set you in excitement. That the Father loves me. Whether I am short or long, whether I am blue or green, whether I belong to Africa or Asia, whether I belong to wherever you come from, he has adopted us as sons and daughters. And therefore, we have the legal rights to have the father's inheritance. Oh, Jesus. Aren't you glad that the Bible says that as many as receive them, to them he gave them the power, the rights to become sons and daughters of God. And listen to the next sentence. He said, it's not by the will of man, nor by the flesh. Oh, come on, Jesus.
Come on now.
But by his own will, he gave us to you and me. Oh, come on. Are you with me?
Yes, yes.
Now, the problem is not the name that is given to us. But are we wearing and bearing the name in the right way?
Come on now.
Because every son must resemble something of the father.
Come on.
You know, if you look at my three sons, you can tell. Hallelujah.
That's right.
If you hear me say, I hear you.
I hear you.
Come on. And so we have the legal rights. But let's go to Galatians chapter 4. Oh, Jesus. Let me lay this foundation because we are going to fly.
All right.
Galatians chapter 4, verse 1 to 6. I hope you're all right with us when we read a couple of scriptures. All right. If you are there, say amen.
Amen.
All right. Now I say that, say now.
Now.
I want you to notice this phrase, now. That's in 2017. In February.
All right.
Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, does not differ at all from the slave, though he is the master of all. But is under guidance and stewards until the time appointed by the father. Even so, when we were children, the word children there means infants, babes, immature. Are you following me?
Yeah.
All right. So we were under the elements. We were under elements of the word. But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive adoptions as sons. As sons. And because you are sons, say, because I am a son, or because I am a daughter. Say it, put your hand and say, because I am a son. Because I am a daughter. God has sent forth the spirits of his son into your heart, crying out again. What did he say? Abba, Father. Therefore, you are no longer a slave, but a son.
That's right.
And if a son, an heir of God through Christ. It's a child.
Yes. Come on.
Though he is the Lord of all.
Yes.
But he comes under elements of the rudiments of time.
Yeah, come on now.
And some things begins to hurt him, fear, and all kinds of things bombard him because his mind is living as a slave. But we have received the spirit of adoption as sons. But Paul was saying that, hey, the church in Galatians, no, the whole gospel of Galatians, the epistle, was that the church in Galatia believed that they need to do something else to end their adoption, to end their right to become the children of God. And Paul said, no, because you are immature, you don't understand. And he said, as long as you live like an infant, a babe, immature, even though you are the Lord of all. In fact, my English teacher told me that all means all.
That's right.
Come on now.
Hallelujah. If you hear me say, I hear you. He is the Lord of all. But he comes under subject to elements. And becomes a things that really, really hurts him. And he said, even though he's a joint heir with Christ, there is an elevation. You are my son, my daughter. And he said, and he began to talk to us in a way that let us not behave like slaves in bondage. But you have received the spirit of adoption. I am going somewhere with this. I don't know about you, but I have found out that my sons have such boldness and audacity to do some things. When I'm in the living room and doing things, they are fine. As soon as we enter the bedroom, they come and knock the door. Jesus, I say, oh God. They have boldness. I can be everywhere. And sons have access, say access. I don't know about you, but my son can walk in. So I have learned to lock the door sometimes. How many of them understand what I'm talking about? I said, son, when I was in the living room and basement, you didn't come. Hallelujah. How many of you understand? They come with boldness. They come with such audacity. There's nothing like they are crawling to come. Daddy. I tell you, Emmanuel can tell me in the evening, Daddy, tomorrow I want to eat this and that. I say, oh my God, have mercy. Jesus. He can predict what he will have tomorrow. Whether you have money in your pocket or not, that is none of his business. I want pancake. If you hear me say, I hear you. Because he is what? A son.
That's right. A son. That's right.
He can come and say, Daddy, what do you think about this? Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord, have mercy. And growing up, I didn't have my father around me because my father was gone most of the times. In fact, the 9 years I saw him later I saw him when I was 27 years. And I didn't have that. But the Lord taught me how to relate to God as a father.
Yes. Amen.
So I received the boldness from the word of God.
Amen.
We are looking at who we are. But please, if you look at it from the word, you will mistake. Who are we? Who am I? We have received, so our beginning, the birth Christ gave to us is by the Spirit. Say it's Spirit.
Spirit.
It's not by flesh.
Right.
It is the spirit of adoption.
Yes. Yes. Come on now.
Are you with me, somebody?
Yes.
And so I have to learn, who am I? Now let me go back to in history. A story is told about Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great conquered the world. We all know the story in history. But one day, Alexander the Great had 4 generals who were the emperors. And one day he disguised himself to go to town.
Come on.
And then when he went to town, he saw a beggar begging for alms. And he said to him, And he gave him something and he shared the gift. And he asked him, hey. And he started talking to him. He said, hey, what is your name? He said, my name is Alexandra. Alexandra looked at him, so we bear the same name. And he said, sir, you either change your name or your job. Jesus.
All right.
I am the general. I have conquered the world. You bear my name and you are a beggar.
Yeah, come on, tell him.
And you are asking for alms. He said, mister, you either change your name or you change your job.
All
No,
right.
that's right.
How many times God look at us that we bear his name as sons and daughters, but we are living in fear. We are living in all kinds. And he said, I'm giving you the spirit of adoption. Alexander the Great, even the man in the flesh, could not reconcile that somebody could bear his name and still beg it.
Well,
And he said, you either change your name
Come on now.
or you change your job. You either change your name or you change your job. God is speaking to us. I have given you my name. You bear my name. You are my son and daughter. Hey! You either change your name or you change your job. Hey! How many times God? He said, I have given him everything. Let me say this. Let me go back and say this. You see, everything Jesus did for us,
yeah.
as a student and as a theologian teaching Bible, we call it substitutionary act. Is my English correct? Substitutionary act. He died for us.
Yeah.
He shed his blood for us.
Yeah.
He didn't need to do all these things. He went to the grave and rose again for us.
Yeah.
He did everything for us. In fact, there was nothing that he did that benefited him.
Yeah.
It was a substitutionary act.
Yeah.
Right.
Jesus.
Right.
Come on
Right.
now. Tell him.
And so when he said the blood was flowing, it is for you, the sons.
All right.
And by him, we have become. You see, James chapter 1 verse 18 says that he has said he has given birth to us by his own will, so that we can become a new species, a new kind, a new creature. We bear the Spirit of God, and he has given us his Spirit, the Holy Spirit, which is the promise of the seed. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you carry something within you. From today, when you enter Walmart, enter as a owner, as a son of God, as a child of God, as a daughter of God.
Come on.
Am I making sense? I'm going somewhere with this. I haven't even begun myself, but I want to lay this foundation. But I wish I have time to get through this. So everything he did was for us.
Yeah. Come on now.
He didn't need to be baptized. He got baptized for us.
Yeah.
And so he said, as many as receive him,
Yeah.
to them, he gave them the legal rights.
Yes. Come on now.
Now, I'm going somewhere with this. The difference between the Old Testament saints and those of us in the New Testament is that the Old Testament functioned as servants. And a servant operates in a delegated authority. Say delegated authority.
Delegated
Authority.
Remember, that means from the time of Abraham, God called them his servants.
Yeah.
All the Old Testament saints were called servants.
Right.
A servant operates with a delegated authority.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the right. He is at his master's command.
Yeah.
That is why, Pastor, the writer of Hebrews said, in Hebrews chapter 1, he said, God in the time past,
Yeah.
Right.
Come on now.
in those days,
Yeah.
Hebrews chapter 1 verse 1, has spoken to the fathers through the prophets.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on now.
But in the last
In
days,
the last
he has spoken to us by his son.
Yeah.
Come on.
Am I